Hi, my name is Dr. Steve Simpson. I'm a mind coach and I work with elite performers, in other words, with people just like you, because we're all capable of elite performance in at least one area of our life if we access the right parts of our brain to be an elite performer at whatever it might be. And this short video is in the series of help exclamation mark, because I get many emails from around the world every day. I always enjoy reading them, and there's a common thread to many of them. And the idea for this video was prompted because I had an email from a person I've known, I've never met, but we've corresponded for several years now, probably about 8 years or perhaps even more. And for the sake of argument, we'll say that his name is Ian. And Ian wrote to me recently. He's saying, basically his email was saying that he's writing a book at the moment, and it really is a labor of love. He was terribly enthusiastic when he started, but he's finding it hard to keep going. And he's in the stage where as an author, one goes through multiple edits. And he's beginning to, well, the only thing that's sustaining him is he has this dream of when the book will be finished. Now, he didn't ask for my advice, and I'm not specifically giving it to Ian, but I'm using this as an example, really. A lot of these emails that I get about how do I finish my project, they often have the word motivation somewhere. You know, I'm not motivated. And that's why I can't get this stuff done. Well, let me start off by saying a few words about motivation. My view is pretty consistent, although I'm sure not many people would agree with me, but I don't think motivation is ever a problem. Motivation to me is the default state of the curious, creative, inquisitive human being. And the best example I can give is look out of your window one day and see a bunch of kids playing football or climbing a tree or whatever other terrible things young kids do when they gather together. But it doesn't really matter what they're doing. The fact is they are motivated. They're having fun. They're completely unaware of the time. They're completely unaware of their own ego and whether they're any good enough at doing whatever they do. And this carries on until their parents come out screaming and shouting, "Do you know it's dinner time? You said you'd be back home 2 hours ago." And they just really don't know what language you're talking about, because to them, time had no meaning. They were just having fun. So that's got rid of motivation. So let's look at the problem from the other way round. To me, there's 3 stages in preparing and executing and completing a project. The first one is the first stage of getting the right idea. And this is normally the fun bit, because these ideas typically come from nowhere. I mean, there are some people who are saying, you know, I'm running a business and it's necessary that I learn how to shoot videos, or it's necessary that I write a book about my business to use it to attract new clients, all that kind of stuff. Well, those to me are fairly dodgy reasons for starting a project. A project should come from the heart, and it should come from the deep part of the brain called the unconscious, which allows itself to speak through intuition. And that's when you wake up one morning with a bright idea, or what seems like a bright idea of your next project. It might be to record a piece of music, create a piece of a sculpture, write a book, as I've mentioned. The list is endless. They're all creative projects. So as long as the idea comes from the heart, that is good. Motivation, certainly at this stage of the project, will not be a problem. And I'd say to people, don't necessarily rush this part of the process, the thinking of and putting the ideas together, but nor on the other hand should you dally either. Find that sweet spot in the middle. And the next bit is, I think, what people find far harder, and that's actually getting started. As my sports coach used to say to me when I was at school, the hardest bit about going out to practice rugby when the rain is pouring and everything's muddy and you're cold and you want to go home, the hardest bit is putting on your rugby boots. And sure enough, that's right, because once you've put your boots on, you're basically committed. That's what you've done. You've made a commitment. There's no going back now. You're going to go out there. You're going to climb that mountain. You're going to write that book some way or the other. So getting started is, well, what are the reasons why people don't get started? Well, this is where ideas start creeping in, like, I don't think I'm good enough to do this. I think I'm probably wasting my time. People are going to laugh at me. When they see what I've done, they'll say, well, we told you, you're just not good enough, basically. Or it could be that people just won't like what I do. They might not have any feelings about me one way or the other. Well, what I would say to in this instance is that this is your conscious mind, this is your ego getting in the way and trying to give you a long list of reasons why it will be safer not to get started. And that can be a very powerful siren voice chirping in your ear. And there are strategies to silence that voice, and I've made other videos. But suffice it to say that it has nothing to do with you. Whether people are going to like your project or not has nothing to do with you. Because I can guarantee that whatever you do, some people are going to love it, and some people are going to hate it. And you're going to get reviews that reflect that. But the fact is that you're going to like the process, and at least some people are going to like what you do. So that's the message there of getting started. And that should, I'm assuming by now that you're getting well into your project. And then there's another bit that people forget. And in my humble opinion, what I'm suggesting to Ian, who wrote me the email about the book that he's writing, I've actually read it. I read the first draft, and that must have been about 3 years ago. I don't read a lot of novels, but I enjoyed reading his. It was beautifully written, grammatically and spelling correct. Not that I care too much about grammar, but the characters were authentic. They were interesting, and the topics that he introduced were superficially interesting, but also there was a deeper meaning to the points that he was trying to get across. So in other words, I thought it was a dead good read in it. So I was looking forward to seeing the book published, but the thing is, still not published, because Ian has gone through numerous edits. He spent a reasonable amount of money having professional people to help him, and the book is still not published. So you see, the problem here is that a project has to end. Sometime somebody has to say, this is finished, it's a wrap, let's move on, time for the next project. So why don't people know when to stop? Because it's similar to how they don't know how to start. Because the doubts start creeping in, like, I know, or it might be more like, I know this can be better. I know one more edit will make a huge difference. Or get another editor, a different editor, will have a different perspective. Well, editors all have their views, and they're wonderfully gifted people, but the trouble is, they're not you. And if you follow all the editing advice you'll get, by the time you've finished, there's not much left of your book. It's somebody else's book by then, so why bother to write it? So editors are like everything else, a little more than a little is by much too much. So use that little, use that sweet spot. So Ian, in my opinion, get your book published, because you're clearly very frustrated now. You don't see the end of this project. And until you can have a picture in your mind of when it's going to end and how it's going to end, it won't. I've already told you there's one person in this universe who likes your book already, and that's me. So I'm guaranteed to buy a copy. And I have a feeling there'll be a few thousand other people too. So whatever your project, whoever you are, wherever you are in the world, the same ideas and suggestions are ones that I put to you. Some of them won't be relevant, some of them you won't like, sorry about that, but hopefully there'll be 2 or 3 things in this short video that will. So get on with it. We're all waiting to see the results of your project, and I'm sure it's going to be brilliant. Thanks so much. Goodbye.